Hello everyone, this is Mark with Mark's Max Muscle, and today we are taking a look at the mandatory pose known as the side tricep. And the side tricep pose is as old as the sport itself, if you do consider bodybuilding a sport, and it's okay if you don't. It's still great, and so was this man, Eugene Sandow, and it's plain to see that he was hitting an arm behind the back, two-spec side tricep, and that is the only type that you will see in this video. So don't even expect to see guys like Roly Winkler, guys that hit the what I call the hoo-ha position. That is not the side tricep. But anyway, this is, and there is no real bodybuilder to compare Eugene with. I mean, he competed, or he did not compete. He showed his physique, I should say. Back at the turn of the century, he was a strong man, and there was no competitive bodybuilding at the time. Let's fast forward to the 1940s. This here is Alan Steffen. Not very well-known bodybuilder, and I have to say, he was really the first guy besides Eugene Sandow, or aside from Eugene Sandow, that was hitting what I call two-spec side tricep. And the funny thing is, it was actually fairly impressive, not bad at all, good rib cage, things of that nature. Here's Clarence Ross. He is a more well-known bodybuilder, also competed in the 40s and in the 50s. He was hitting a two-spec side tricep, but maybe the arm was not straightened out as much as it should have been. But anyway, guys, a little bit of history I like to add in these videos. Here is Bill Pearl. He was the first guy to really come out impressive in this pose here. And personally, guys, one of my favorite bodybuilders of all time. This is him on stage, showing that he can hit both arms. And I do like to show on-stage pictures, but it's darn near impossible for some of these older competitors. This one here has to be one of my favorite shots of Bill Pearl. I personally have this one under a frame, hanging up in my gym. Always inspires me, this picture here of Bill Pearl. Fantastic. Let us not once again forget Mike Katz, because Mike Katz should have more definitely been featured in the side chest pose video that I did. And it's a shame because he also has a fantastic side tricep. You can plainly see here, known as the Frankenstein of bodybuilding, and you can see why. But still, guys, all jokes aside, he had a fantastic side chest and, of course, side tricep pose. This is Frank Zane, three-time Mr. Olympia champion. And a lot of you guys claim that he is overrated. Take a look at this pose, guys. Definitely not overrated. That's not what comes to mind. Underrated, if anything. This side tricep pose, look at the waist to arm ratio. This is unbelievable stuff. I even would say Frank Zane is taking Bill Pearl to school in this pose. The arm appears to be just as big, except for, of course, the rest of the physique much smaller, so it makes it appear a lot bigger than one Bill Pearl's. So really, guys, Frank Zane, he is the man in this pose. But then we roll into the 1980s, and there was bodybuilder after bodybuilder, like Danny Padilla. He was unbelievable in this pose. And then you can't forget about Brutal Fox. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe not the most aesthetic in the world, but look at that big mountain of a tricep. Now, this guy here was very aesthetic and smooth. Awesome here, Samir Banu. But was there any poses that he could not hit? Now, thus far, most of these guys have been pretty famous. The same, of course, cannot be said about this guy. This is Joseph Grolmus. And if you knew his name before I said it, congrats to you. Good job. But anyway, guys, this guy's pose is unbelievable. Look at that tricep. Anyway, there's also this guy here. This is Libor Minarik. And if you knew his name before I said it, well, double kudos if you get both of those guys. But in both cases, those guys both possessed one world-class tricep itself. Now, the whole pose wasn't maybe the best, and that's really what this video is about. But I mean, Libor here, this is just unbelievable. And coupled with probably one of the biggest triceps that I've ever seen compared to the rest of the physique. Anyway, guys, those two were just unheard of, but unbelievable and out of this world as well. Now we hop back into the mainstream of things. This is Lee Haney in 1987. Now, other than this year, his tricep was subpar, to say the very least, when you are judging the best of the very best in bodybuilding, of course, compared to a novice. Every one of his poses world class. But then, of course, as we all know, he was challenged in 1991 by the Shadow Yates. The Shadow, Dorian Yates. Fresh out of prison. I'm just joking, but he did go to prison. He was good also in 92, was Dorian Yates, as you can see here, but it was not until 1993 that he really hit his stride and, in my opinion, hit his plateau in this pose. So this was as good as it gets for Dorian Yates. So if you believe that he is the greatest of all time to hit this shot, I will definitely be using this 1993 pose as a ruler, or a measuring stick, I guess you could say. Now, right off the hop, I will throw this guy out here. This is Paul DeMeo. And he had an awesome tricep development itself. Look at that. But as a pose, the rest of the physique, I would wager to say Dorian would get an edge, and that's saying a lot, saying he's just getting an edge. But let's reflect for a second. Paul DeMeo. May he rest in peace, first of all, but let's behold, this is one of the greatest poses in this posture of all time, for the greatest side triceps. So may he rest in peace. Another guy that Paul actually competed against, Kevin Levrone, he had an outstanding side tricep pose. And actually, he more than pushed Dorian Yates on several occasions. Actually, here in 1995, Kevin's probably beating Dorian. But so was Nasser El Sonbaty, given the right opportunity and given the right two versions, of course. I mean, Nasser El Sonbaty, one of the best of all time in this pose. Now, if you lay all three of these guys in probably their best respective versions, of course, it's very hard to say. Each one of them has their own qualities. I personally would once again turn towards that hard graininess, that quality of Dorian Yates. Remember, we're judging the entire pose, not just the tricep development alone. And in both cases, really, Dorian may have an edge. Just unbelievable. But my point is, guys, after this, there was no real great side triceps. The pose itself, it was a wasteland here in 1999. This is your top three, and this is their side tricep poses. Nothing special really to speak of. And it was the same way, guys, up until the mid-2000s. There was, of course, Jay Cutler, and that was really the best tricep around, the best side tricep. But even this one, guys, couldn't really compare with the best of the best. Victor Martinez comes to mind, not too bad, mid-2000s. Chris Dim pops up here. It's quite a bulbous little tricep. But again, guys, it was a virtual wasteland. Look at this lineup here. These are all Olympia champions except for the guy winning the pose, Victor Martinez. Unbelievable. Take another look at the lineup in 2008, and there was finally, a fresh face on the horizon. This was Phil Heath. The 2008 Mr. Olympia was his debut, of course, and this was an awesome pose for Phil Heath. And he maintained this posture. This is him in 2014, and not a very great version, but still in this lineup, he's blowing everybody out of the water for sure. So is Phil Heath the greatest of all time to hit this pose, this posture? Well, let's throw on the 90s, guys. Here's, for an example, a 2001 Kevin Levrone, and of course the 1993 Dorian Yates. And take your pick, guys, depending on your flavor, your style. It honestly could go one of three ways, considering Phil hung on to his tricep, his side tricep pose his whole career. He may be the greatest of all time. Then there's this man here, Cedric McMillan. Is there any pose that he is not good at? I think he was featured in the side chest, the front lat spread video, and this is no different, guys. And you throw him in a lineup against a couple of other competitors. William Bonac, actually not too bad compared to the other guys nowadays, and still a virtual wasteland. This is Michael Lockett. Actually not too bad at all. And for these day and age, it's actually quite good to see a tricep like this. And of course, this video would not be complete without this guy, Hunter Labrada. And you know me and my channel, or if you do know me and my channel, you know that every time I haul this pose out, I get the pom-poms out and I start cheering and singing his praises. So ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're going to throw Phil Heath against him and see which one is better. And I am telling you right now, guys, I am not backing up on my statements. This is a top 3 tricep in the world. Is it beating Phil? It could be. It's darn near close, guys. The tricep is big, thick, striated. I don't think it's quite as good as Phil Heath's, guys, but Phil Heath's the best in today's lineups. So, guys, I don't think there's anybody else that's going to beat Hunter Labrada in this pose. So there is a fresh sun ray coming down on the side tricep pose. So ultimately, guys, it's too hard for me to choose between the top 3 big ones that I had set up earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Frank Zane as my ultimate side tricep champion. Now, what does that mean? It means I was too much of a coward to choose between Phil Heath and Dorian Yates. And heck, throw Kevin Levrone in there as well. But honestly, guys, if I'm leaning towards aesthetics and who do I actually think looks the coolest and nicest, this here side tricep of Frank Zane. He is etched in history. An awesome pose. And I hope you guys somewhat agree on that. But more importantly, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, go ahead and hit thumbs up on it, as that really helps. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Go ahead and find me on Instagram if you do have an account, and add me on there as well. Have a great day, guys.